Hi, everyone who's checking in. This is Maggie Ostara. I'm delighted to welcome you here. Right now, have the second in a series of 5 webinars that are talking about the superpowers based on the types. And so today we're going to be talking about manifesting generators. So all generators, whether they're pure or manifesting, have their sacral center defined. So this red square here is what we call the sacral center, okay? So everybody who is a generator, pure or manifesting, has this colored in. If you have it colored in, you're either a pure generator or a manifesting generator. There are no exceptions, okay? And the sacral center is the most powerful engine or the most powerful motor in the chart. It's the center for life force energy. It's extremely powerful. It gives us generators a huge amount of energy to be the builders of the world, because we are the builders. We are the ones who have that energy to to build houses. For me, it's build online courses, teach lots of people, build gardens, make furniture, do big work in the world, right? It really gives us the energy to do that. And it's virtually inexhaustible, provided that you're following your strategy, you're using your authority, and you're taking care of yourself. Now, I have done other webinars on strategy for all the types and on authority for all the types, okay? So I encourage you, if you have an interest in that and more questions about that, to go and look at those webinars, because I'm not going to go into deep detail about them here today. I will mention it to some degree because your strategy and your authority are definitely superpowers for you. And I did talk about both of these in relation to the generator last week. So I will have talked about it more then. So I encourage you to go check that out also. But I want to emphasize here, and this is true for manifesting generators as well as for generators, which is that you can burn yourself out. I have burned myself out several times I didn't know my strategy and I didn't know my authority. So I wasn't operating like a generator. I was operating like a manifester. It was good for accomplishment for a while, but then I got really, really fried, and I had to step away from a couple of different businesses that I had created. One of which was, really big, like a multiple 6-figure, sometimes a 7-figure business, because I was doing it like I was a manifester. And I know now that a manifester wouldn't have been able to do it the way I was doing it because they don't have the sacral energy. So it's interesting to start to understand how we need each other as as different human design types, because a manifester wouldn't have been able to build what I built without a generator, and I would have done great with a manifester, or if I'd known my strategy and my authority and followed it. Let's talk for a minute about the motors or the engines in the chart, okay? Because it's important to understand these in order to understand the manifesting generator as opposed to the pure generator. So pure generators have this red square defined, okay? Pure generators can have all of them defined, just like a manifesting generator can have them all defined, okay? That's not the key component. But let's just talk about these for a second. So the motors or the engines are where the fuel is in the chart, or the energy is in the chart. Like I said, the sacral is the most powerful one, and it is virtually inexhaustible if you are taking care of yourself. You're resting when you need to, you're paying attention to. If your sacral authority is going, I don't have energy for that, not pushing yourself to do it anyway, which is what I used to do. If you're not overusing your willpower, which you can do, especially if you have your will center defined, not that many of us do, but some of us do. And really knowing like if it's the right time to do something, which is what your authority will help you know, if it is yours to do, if it's even something you have energy for now or maybe never. Maybe you have a good idea, but or you think it's a good idea, but it's really not something that your inner being is going to say yes to. And this is one of the ways that you can really burn yourself out, however many engines that you have. So let me just name them all. So here's the sacral center. Here's the will center, which is half of the what used to be the heart chakra. The other half is here is the G center. Here's the emotional solar plexus. It's the emotional center, which is not so much the center that contains all the emotions, because there's emotions in other parts of the chart. Like, for example, there's love in the heart, right? There's fear in the spleen. So there is what we might think of as emotional energy in lots of different parts of the chart and different channels and in different gates. But what it is when you have this defined, it means you're going to have an emotional wave. And so you're going to be having emotions present more or less all the time in some form. Whereas if you have it open, as I do, you may not. There may be times when you're pretty neutral emotionally. And so it's one of the things that people need to come to understand if they have this defined. Then we have the root, and the root pulses on and off and on and off. And so we need to pay attention to, is our root on? Do we have the energy now? If the root is off and you're like, wow, I had so much energy for this yesterday, and today I just really don't. If any of you experience that, I think I had somebody comment on this at another time. It may be that your root is off. It may be that your will center needs to replenish itself because you've been using your willpower to do something. Or it could just be that it is time for you to rest. And we're not very well trained in how to rest here in our culture. I realized when I learned human design that I really didn't know how to rest. I knew how to collapse, work until I collapsed. And I knew how to sleep, kind of, but I didn't really know how to rest. And going to the hot springs is one of the ways that I rest. Okay, so for manifesting generators, so manifesting energy is when a motor gets to the throat, or when the energy is coming from a motor. Okay, one of these four motors, all right? That is when you have manifesting energy. You'll probably hear a lot when you are reading a book, or if you're taking a class, and especially if you're getting a reading, that you may have projected energy, okay? Or it might even be generated energy, which means it's coming off the sacral, okay? But it's only manifesting energy that is about manifesting and is about direct expression. Okay, every other type of energy, whether it's projected or whether it's generated, needs to be what we call called out or recognized in order to be effective. And the energy of the sacral is responsive by nature. That's why we say that the strategy of generators is to respond. It's to respond. It's to be paying attention to what's going on in our outer reality and then respond to what comes into our purview. Okay. And so because it's generated energy that works best in response. If we try to make things happen, if we try to initiate too much with generated energy, we tend to either exhaust ourselves or do things at the wrong time, or meet resistance or annoy people. And so you want to be looking for that. If you're a manifesting generator, you still need to be looking for that, even though you have manifesting energy, because you're primarily a generator, not a manifester. Okay, but this can be tricky for manifesting generators because they do have manifesting energy. So what is this manifesting energy? It means that there is a line between the sacral all the way up to the throat. Okay, this is the 3420, which is known as the manifesting generator channel. Doesn't have to be this to be a manifesting generator, but it's known as that. It's also known as the channel of charisma. It's the fastest, most powerful channel in the chart. And just remember, everybody has the whole chart. So when you're around somebody who has this energy, you'll be experiencing it also, and you'll feel it and you'll get to amplify it. It's great for accomplishment in a lot of ways. If you have that 3420, that's definitely a superpower for you as a manifesting generator. But there are also some downsides to it. I'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, but there's lots of ways that you can get a motor to the throat. So this is one, right? But this energy could go up through the 34 into the 10, into the G center, and then up through any one of these channels. Okay, do you see that? Or it could come up from any of these channels. I just highlighted one because otherwise it's too many. You'll lose focus. But any one of these up through the G into the throat, okay? It could come directly from the will center into the throat. It could come directly from the emotional solar plexus up into the throat. Or it could come from the root through any of these 3 channels, through any of these 2 channels, up through the spleen and into the throat. The closer the motor is to the throat, the more powerful the energy will be. So if like the root is the weakest of the motors, okay, and it has to go through the spleen in order to get up to the throat. So that's a long way to get energy from the root up to the throat, right? And it has to go through another center, okay? It's going to pick up some intuition and potentially some instinctual fear along the way as it's going up there. So you want to check that out for yourself if that's how your motor gets to the throat. If it's going up through the G, again, it's going to weaken this sacral energy a little bit, but it's also going to pick up love energy and direction as it's going. Whereas with the will center, it's going to go directly to the throat, and the emotional solar plexus is going to go directly to the throat. If you have your emotional solar plexus to the throat, that means that you probably, and it could be the other channel here too, you may find it easy to express your emotions, okay? And then here with the willpower, this means you can have really strong willpower, and it can mean that you have a strong sense of your own value, and you may have a good relationship with money. Now, I have seen it be the opposite a fair number of times for people. So I know theoretically, if you have that will center defined, you're going to have a good relationship with money and own your value. But I've seen it be different than that plenty of times. So the point here is all of these motors have manifesting energy that when it goes to the throat is the center for expression and manifestation. So it's going to enable you to have strong ability to express yourself and also to create in the world. But because you're a generator, your main authority is still going to be your sacral, okay? And it's still responsive. So a manifesting generator is most powerful when they are able to be patient, to be able to pay attention to what's going on in the outer reality, to be able to slow down enough to imagine and visualize the direction that they want to take. So they get an inspiration or a great idea and they're like, oh, I want to go do that. If they can slow down enough and actually visualize it and pay attention to what's showing up in their outer reality, and when they get something to respond to, and they ask their sacral, ask their authority, is this the right time? Oh, oh, is this the thing? You know, this email that I got, is that a yes to this idea? Oh, Then you move forward with it. And then they can act like manifestors with a lot of power because they have gotten the yes, right? They've gotten that yes. But you need to be able to wait. I've done readings for and taught classes with many manifesting generators who have shared with me that this is a challenge for them because the inner, especially if they have the 3420, which is a huge superpower when you manage the energy and you know how to channel it. It's kind of like a bronking, a bucking bronco, right? It's kind of like that energy. It's like it's like volcanic energy. It can be, right? So you want to make sure that you are handling it and it's not handling you, right? Because when it handles you, what it looks like is you get an idea and you go do it before you even think about it. And then later you go, gosh, I don't think this was the right time to do that. Or, I'm not sure that was such a good idea for me to do that. Right? And then they have to kind of backpedal or let something go. So if you are a manifesting generator or you have one in your life, just think about that if there's a time for when that's true. And when you learn, oh, wow, this is how I need to handle this energy. When something comes up and I want to act on it, all I need to do is settle a little bit and develop my patience and my ability to imagine, okay, how will this actually go? And then, of course, use your authority, right? Ask your sacral, is this a or a and then see what you have to respond to in your outer reality. Okay. All right. So let's look at manifesting generator superpowers. So over here on the left are the ones that I mentioned for generators last week. Okay. The inner direction that you get from your authority, your sacral. Same with the guided by spirit is coming from that sacral authority. We are all of us are the builders of the world. We are designed for mastery. Just like generators, manifesting generators are designed to really learn through what's traditionally called a stair-step way of learning. And this is one of the places that's interesting for manifesting generators. This has to do with the skipping steps that are over here on the right. Is sometimes manifesting generators where the generator will hit the plateau, right? The manifesting generator will just jump right over it onto the next thing. And sometimes that's incredible and they get things done really fast. They let go of extraneous things that didn't really need to be done. And they create shortcuts that we all benefit from. At other times, they skip steps that actually need to be done, and they have to go back and do them. Or sometimes they have to, kind of tear apart things that they did and go back and rebuild. It's a mixed blessing, right? It's totally a superpower. But the thing is that for a manifesting generator, again, before you skip the step, take a moment, be patient, ground yourself, imagine what it would be like to skip that step and go, is that really the best? Ask your sacral, your inner direction, just guided by spirit. Is this the right thing to do, right? Is it the right time to do it, right? Is there something in my outer reality that can confirm this for me or not? Before you go ahead and skip the step. Now, that's not really in the nature of manifesting generators because they are fast. They tend to be really, really fast and they tend to be super productive. But I can tell you, I did some consulting with a couple that were a manifesting generator couple. They both had the 3420. And I was doing business consulting with them. And I was helping them to build an online component, really a whole new online business from what had been an in-person business. And it was very hard. They were not very coachable. It was very hard to direct them because they were in the habit of getting an idea and acting on the idea immediately. And they were in the habit of believing that they had all the right ideas. And that if they got an idea, it was the right idea. And so it was hard to work with them. I mean, we did okay. I did help them learn a few things. But my experience is that they weren't willing to just kind of ground and become a little more responsive rather than taking a lot of initiative. And I think it really undercut their ability to be more successful. So I just want you to think about that if you're a manifesting generator, if that has been true for you in your life, and what you might do about that if that's the case. Manifesting generators in particular, but really anybody with the gate 34, which is known as the busy gate or the gate of power in the human design chart, is designed for multitasking. Like, I'm not a manifesting generator, but I do have the 34, and I am definitely designed for multitasking. I'm definitely designed to have multiple projects going on at the same time. I usually have at least 3 or 4 happening at the same time, just like I'm reading 3 books at the same time. So for some people, multitasking is really not great for them. It throws them off a lot. They get very scattered. It can happen for manifesting generators if they are not doing the right work, okay? And they can just be scattering themselves because they have all this fast action. And they're trying to skip steps and they're multitasking and they're not really on purpose. But when you're on purpose and you're doing the right work and you're really holding on to that energy, it can be such a huge superpower to be able to do that kind of multitasking, because the manifesting generator has this huge capacity for work. Like I said, we're the builders of the world, the generators, and the manifesting generators even more so. Like some of the manifesting, I mean, I'm highly productive. Ask anybody who knows me well, they're like, wow, I can't believe how much you produce. And I look at some other manifesting generators and I feel like I'm, pale in comparison to their manifesting ability. It's pretty amazing. So they have a huge capacity for that. And this is all when you're able to grab a hold of that amount of power that you have and to be able to just incubate it for long enough to ask questions and to decide if this is really the right time for you to be taking these actions. I'm just checking the time we have. Okay, got to move on. All right, so what are your most vital questions as a manifesting generator? Am I focusing on the right actions? Okay, that's absolutely critical. And the reason for that is it's possible for manifesting generators to be busy, but not doing the right stuff. And especially if you're multitasking and you're not really paying attention and asking yourself the question and responding, you can be doing not the right actions for you, or not in the right order, or not at the right time. So you want to ask that. One way to tune in and find out is, are you angry and frustrated or engaged and satisfied? Because the manifesting generator who is not on purpose or not doing the right work or not doing enough of the right work can be angry and frustrated. If you're feeling really engaged and really satisfied, chances are you're on purpose, you're doing the right work, you're doing enough work, and you're handling your energy well. So you just want to look for that, because all of the human design types have what we call emotional themes. And so these are for the manifesting generator. One thing is are you doing enough work or doing enough activity? And when I say work, I don't necessarily mean your job. It could be your business, but it could also just be work in your life, like things that you're really engaged in that are utilizing your energy and are using your, using your abilities, using that incredible power that you have. Because if you're not, you could get depressed, you could get sick, you could be really annoying to yourself and others because you're not taking a hold of that energy and really sending it in the right direction. When you do, you're pretty much unstoppable. You can ask yourself, are you being patient? Okay, because one of the ways that manifesting generators can really screw themselves up is by not being patient enough, right? Taking lots of fast action without checking it out first and not using their strategy and their authority. And then where do you go for guidance? Okay, so because manifesting generators, just like generators, need to go to their sacral authority for their guidance. Now, if you're emotionally defined, and I've said this, I think, in almost every webinar, it simply means you need to take account of your emotional wave. Your sacral is still your authority, okay? You're not going to your emotional solar plexus for your yes, no answers or to give you guidance, okay? You're taking account of your emotional wave, but that's not where you're going for guidance. Okay, so you want to ask yourself that. Depending on your circuitry, there's lots of other things in the human design chart. Like, for example, I have a lot of the knowing circuit, so I go to my knowing circuit for guidance. But that's beyond the scope of what we can talk about here. That's the kind of thing that I can support you with in a reading if you decide you want to do that. All right, many blessings, much love.